Misty. Misty. You wanna come over here and hang out? You wanna look out the window? She don't know what she wants. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are diving into another true crime case. Another legendary case. When I say he's insane, I mean it. When I was researching this guy, I was like thoroughly creeped out. America's first serial killer, or at least known serial killer. Jack the Ripper doesn't freak me out as much as this guy. That should say something. We are talking about H.H. Holmes. H.H. Holmes stands for Henry Howard Holmes. That is not his birth name. He changed it, and honestly, I don't blame him for changing it. His birth name was Herman Webster Mudgett. There's very little known about his childhood other than he was raised in a religious home. He was described as very intelligent from a young age, but he seemed a little bit off. It's believed that he dissected animals at a young age. And if you're unaware of serial killer, every time I say that I just think of like Captain Crunch, like murdering someone. Anyway, a huge red flag is when children torture animals or kill animals at a young age. He actually did get married and had a child. It's always scary when you think of somebody like this having children, passing on their horrifying DNA. But Holmes ended up getting accepted into medical school. And while he was there, he studied anatomy and chemistry. While he was in medical school, he developed a taste for scamming people. He stole cadavers, would take out fake insurance policies, disfigure the cadaver so they wouldn't be recognizable, and then claim the insurance money. It was much easier to get away with this sort of thing back in that time. Like nowadays, there's so many ways to test DNA and fingerprinting and all that. He graduated medical school in only 2 years. After he graduated, he kind of just decided he didn't want that original relationship. After his first marriage ended, he ended up just traveling around the country and killing random people. Anytime somebody was like, I think it's this guy, he would deny everything and then just skip town. But in August 1886, he arrived in Chicago. This is where the majority of his murderous activities took place. Elizabeth S. Holton owned a drugstore, and Holmes decided to apply to be a pharmacist at this drugstore. Holmes offered to buy the drugstore, and when Holton agreed, went ahead and signed it over, she disappeared. Across the street from the drugstore, there was this plot of land that in 1888, Holmes decided to go ahead and buy. He ended up waiting about a year to start building. So in 1889, he started building his Hotel O Horror. Now, while constructing this place, he would hire people to work on certain sections, only that section. If they started kind of snooping around, looking at the blueprints, trying to figure out the big picture of what this place was going to look like, he would fire them or they would just disappear. All of the rooms had different purposes, and he didn't want people to get suspicious while they were building a room with no door but a trap door in the ceiling. So the second floor alone had 35 rooms. And in the basement, there was a crematorium. Like, why would a hotel have a crematorium? This is the creepiest part to me. There was a body chute. Envision like an apartment has like a trash chute, but for bodies. Another thing he would do to make money is he would remove the skeleton from a body and sell it to like a medical school. He also had a thing for just kind of being a player. He was legally married to 3 different women, and none of them knew about the other. Julia Smith was one of his mistresses, and she worked at the hotel. Keep in mind, while all this murderous stuff is happening upstairs and in the basement, it's a normal hotel on like the ground floor, and people are coming in and checking in. There's people working there, like employees who are just like earning a living. Julia Smith was one of these ladies that he convinced somehow to be his mistress, and when she got pregnant, he offered to perform the abortion himself. Julia Smith agreed to this only if they got married. So he agreed to this, but she was never heard from again. Don't you love stories that are like that are like, they were never heard from or seen again? Like, people don't just vanish. He went to Boston and met a woman named Minnie Williams. He used an alias, Henry Gordon, and somehow he convinced her to move to Chicago to work in his hotel. And then he somehow also convinced her to sign over a deed to a property in Texas to another person named Alexander Bond, which, surprise, surprise, another alias of H.H. Holmes. After she signed away that property, he proposed to her, and then she disappeared, along with her sister, who came to visit and, you know, celebrate the engagement. He just got rid of them both. In July 1884, Holmes got arrested, but not for what you expect him to get arrested for. He got arrested for selling mortgaged goods. While he was in jail, he was plotting. He wanted to run a huge insurance scam. He met another inmate named Marion Hedgepeth. They conspired together to fake H.H. Holmes' own death. Basically, Holmes asked Hedgepeth, hey, do you know a lawyer who would be down for this, to like help me figure this out? And Hedgepeth gave him the name of a lawyer he could trust, and in return, Holmes said, I will give you $500 once we get the money. The plan didn't go as planned. Holmes had to kind of change a few things. Literally, the only person Holmes trusted, the closest thing you could call a friend of Holmes, was a man named Benjamin Pitezel. So Holmes, called up his friend Pitezel, was like, hey, I need a favor. I need you to fake your own death. You in? And Pitezel, being the good friend that he was, said, sure, I'm in. Basically, Holmes's plan was he was going to take one of the many bodies that he had from his hotel and disfigure it with acid and then present it as Pitezel, who would be under an alias, and they would get the money. He even went so far as having Pitezel's wife in on it, like she knew this was going to happen and that her husband was going to have to go into hiding. Holmes, being the horrible person that he is, decided, I think I'm just going to kill my friend Pitezel and use his actual body. He had Pitezel's wife convinced that Pitezel was just like in another country doing just fine. Here's where Holmes messed up. He forgot to pay Hedgepeth, and Hedgepeth, being the petty man he was, turned Holmes in. Holmes was arrested, and after his arrest, the police began to search his hotel, and they started interviewing employees. The police found bodies and bodies and bodies and rooms where people had died in. Holmes decided to go ahead and confess. Holmes confessed to 27 murders, only 9 of which are confirmed. There's like theories saying that he killed up to 200 people, which honestly, it sounds insane, but the fact that he had this giant hotel in Chicago, it is actually not surprising at all to think he could have killed that many people. But of course, Holmes, being the liar, the crazy manipulator he was, right before his death, he decided to change his story and say he only killed 2 people. On May 7th, 1886, H.H. Holmes was hanged, but it didn't work quite right. And this is where I feel like karma comes to play. Like, he literally tortured people to death, and when he was finally killed, it took 15 minutes for him to die. That is H.H. Holmes in all his glory and nastiness. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. I am uploading every single day of October for Vlogtober. And if you're interested in following me on social media, all of my social medias are going to be linked down in the bottom box. Until the next video, which will be tomorrow,